Did you know that underneath all those incredible black and white stripes, a zebra's skin is uniformly black? It's a wild fact to kick us off, isn't it? For centuries we've stared at these magnificent animals, these painted horses of the African plains, and asked one simple nagging question: why the stripes? Think about it. Most grazing animals, like antelope or wildebeest, are drab shades of brown and tan. They blend into the dusty landscape hoping to go unnoticed. But not the zebra. Oh no, the zebra stands out like a beacon, a walking, breathing optical illusion. It's a bold fashion statement in a world where blending in often means survival. So, what gives? Why would an animal that's on the menu for so many powerful predators choose to wear nature's most conspicuous pattern? This question has puzzled some of the greatest minds in history, from Charles Darwin to Alfred Russel Wallace. They saw the zebra and saw a mystery wrapped in a riddle coded in black and white. Is it a signal to other zebras? A way to stay cool under the blazing African sun? Or is it the most famous theory of all? A dazzling form of camouflage designed to confuse the very predators that hunt them? For the longest time, the most popular explanation for zebra stripes sounded straight out of a magician's handbook. This was the motion dazzle theory. The idea: when a herd runs, their stripes merge into a confusing blur of black and white. Imagine trying to pick out a single zebra from that swirling mass. The theory said this chaos makes it nearly impossible for a predator to single out one animal. Predator example: lion, hyena. It's a brilliant concept, right? The herd becomes one giant shifting striped entity, a living optical illusion. It paints nature as a grand masquerade ball, zebras as best-dressed guests. We've all seen optical illusion posters where static patterns seem to move. The thinking: zebras weaponize that effect. A lioness preparing to ambush would face a wall of moving lines. Which way is the animal going? Where does one zebra end and another begin? The confusion might make her misjudge the pounce by inches. The zebra escapes. It was an elegant collective defense idea. It became the go-to answer in documentaries and textbooks. Stories from hunters bolstered the idea. Stories from naturalists bolstered the idea. They described difficulty keeping eyes on a single target in a fleeing herd. It looked like zebras had cracked predator evasion, not blending into background but blending with each other. Safety in numbers, visual extreme, stripes as uniform team colors, moving as a unit, a confusing force, evolutionary genius. Or so it seems. But science is a relentless detective. Researchers looked closer and found holes. They asked tougher questions. Does motion dazzle work for predators' visual systems? What about a zebra alone? Stripes remain. And a lone zebra is conspicuous. The masquerade ball explanation was about to be challenged. The first major crack in the camouflage theory came from a very simple yet profound realization. Lions are incredibly successful at hunting zebras. If the stripes were such a brilliant anti-predator defense, you'd expect zebras to be one of the most difficult prey animals to catch. But that's just not the case. In many parts of Africa, zebras are a primary and reliable food source for lion prides. Lions don't seem to be scratching their heads in confusion. They see a meal, and they go for it. This observation, the predator's paradox, was a huge red flag. The so-called dazzle effect didn't seem to dazzle lions. Scientists started looking from a lion's point of view. Humans have excellent color vision and acuity, but a lion's vision is different. They're most active at dawn and dusk, in low light where colors matter less and outlines matter more. From a distance, those black and white stripes blend into gray. From ambush range, a zebra looks like a gray horse, an easy shape to spot. The stripes only show up close, often too late. Another puzzle: zebra behavior. They don't flee into dense thickets, they bolt to open plains. That's the opposite of camouflage behavior. In open spaces, their bold, contrasting pattern stands out. Their strategy looks like early detection and sheer speed, not on hiding or visual trickery. Their behavior told a different story than their coat was. The evidence pointed one way: wrong suspect. If not to confuse lions, then what? Scientists went back to the drawing board with better tech and skepticism. They had to look beyond big predators and at other forces on the plains. What if the threat wasn't a 200-kilogram cat with teeth and claws? What if the real enemy was much smaller, far more numerous, and just as deadly? The clues were moving away from dramatic chases toward something insidious and persistent. The investigation was about to shift, much, much smaller. So, if the stripes don't confuse lions, what on earth are they for? The answer, my friends, is as surprising as it is brilliant. The stripes are for confusing insects. That's right. The zebra's spectacular coat isn't designed to fool a multi-ton predator. It's an evolutionary masterstroke aimed at thwarting tiny, blood-sucking flies. Specifically, biting flies like horseflies, tsetse flies. These aren't just a minor annoyance. In Africa, they are major vectors for devastating diseases like trypanosomiasis or sleeping sickness, which can actually be fatal to equids like horses and zebras. Suddenly, the evolutionary pressure for an effective defense makes a whole lot more sense. It wasn't about avoiding becoming a single meal, but about avoiding thousands of tiny, disease-carrying bites over a lifetime. How does it work? Biting flies have compound eyes that see the world very differently than we do. They are particularly attracted to large, dark, solid-colored surfaces. To a horsefly, a brown horse or a black cow looks like a giant, perfect landing strip. But a zebra? That's a different story. Recent studies have shown that the black and white stripes create an optical illusion for the fly's low-resolution vision. The pattern disrupts the fly's ability to make a controlled landing. As they get closer, the polarized light reflecting off the stripes really messes with their perception, causing them to become disoriented. Have you ever been on a perfect summer picnic? The sun is shining, the food is delicious, but then you hear it. A low, persistent buzzing. Suddenly you're swatting at your arms and legs as horseflies and mosquitoes decide that you're the main course. It's annoying, right? Now imagine that happening every single minute of every single day, and each bite carries the risk of a deadly disease. That's the reality for animals on the African plains. This everyday human experience is our best window into understanding the immense pressure that biting insects place on wildlife. It's not a once-a-week problem, it's a constant life-or-death battle. This perspective helps us see why an anti-fly coat would be such a game-changing evolutionary trait. Think about the last time you were bothered by flies. What were you wearing? Chances are if you were wearing a dark-colored shirt, you were a prime target. Insects are drawn to dark, solid shapes. Now imagine wearing a chaotic black and white striped shirt. It's not something we typically do, but the science behind zebras suggests it might just be the best insect repellent you could ask for. How did scientists prove this wild theory? It wasn't just a good idea, it had to be tested. One of the most famous and brilliantly simple experiments was conducted by researcher Tim Caro and his team. They went to a horse farm in the UK where biting horseflies are a major nuisance. First, they observed horses. Then, they brought in some domestic zebras. What they found was dramatic. The horseflies swarmed the horses, but they largely left the zebras alone. This was the first major clue. But was it the stripes or something else, like the zebra's smell? The next step was to find out, and it involved some hilarious animal fashion. To isolate the effect of the stripes, the researchers took the horses and put striped coats on them. Yes, you read that right. Horses wearing zebra print pajamas. They created several different coats. One was all black, one was all white, and one was black and white striped, just like a zebra. Then they painstakingly watched and recorded the flies. The results were undeniable. The flies landed on the solid black and solid white coats at a high rate, but the horses wearing the zebra-striped coats? The number of fly landings plummeted. The flies would approach, but then they'd get confused and fly away, just as the theory predicted. It was a home run for the insect repellent hypothesis. The experiment didn't stop there. The researchers even put striped coats on the zebras themselves, but with the stripes going the wrong way or with different patterns to see what would happen. They used high-speed cameras to film the flies as they approached. The footage was incredible. It showed the flies coming in for a landing, but in the last few feet, as the striped pattern filled their field of vision, they would fail to slow down. They'd either overshoot the target completely, or literally bump into the animal and tumble away disoriented. The stripes were acting as a kind of visual barrier, a landing disruption system that was purely optical. It was concrete, visual proof. This elegant experiment, and others like it, effectively closed the case on the great zebra mystery. Ready for the ultimate life hack from the savannah? Avoid being a magnet for mosquitoes, horseflies, other biting insects. Wear striped clothing. Thin, high-contrast black and white stripes work best. You'd be dressing like a zebra. Visual jamming, planning a hike, a camping trip, or an evening on the patio. Ditch the dark blue tee, pick bold stripes. Funny looks from friends, sure, but far fewer bug bites. Nature's insect repellent, fashion forward, not just theory, it's in practice. Farmers paint stripes on cows to repel flies. That cuts pesticide use and helps animal welfare. It's biomimicry. Learn from nature. If it works for a multi-ton cow, it can work for you. So next time you're shopping, give that striped shirt a second look. It's not just a pattern, it's evolutionary technology, and it's waiting for you to use it. The story of the zebra's stripes is more than just a fun piece of trivia, it's a powerful lesson in looking closer and questioning what we think we know. For over a century, the world was convinced the stripes were for predators, a dramatic tale of hunter and hunted. But the truth was quieter, smaller, and infinitely more clever. It reminds us that the most significant forces in nature aren't always the biggest and loudest. Sometimes the key to survival lies in outsmarting the smallest of adversaries. The natural world is filled with these hidden stories, these secret codes written in patterns, colors, and behaviors, and they are all waiting to be deciphered. What other mysteries are hiding in plain sight? Why do giraffes have patches? Why are flamingos pink? Why do some caterpillars look exactly like snakes? Every pattern, every color, every shape in nature has a purpose, a story forged in the crucible of evolution. The answers are rarely what they seem at first glance. They require us to be curious, to ask questions, and to challenge our own assumptions. The zebra teaches us that we need to consider all the players in an ecosystem, from the lion all the way down to the fly. It's a call to broaden our perspective and appreciate the intricate web of life in all its complexity. So here is your call to action, your mission should you choose to accept it. Go outside. Look at the patterns on a butterfly's wing, the texture of tree bark, the way a spider spins its web. Ask why. Why that color? Why that shape? Don't just accept the first answer that comes to mind. Dig deeper. Be a naturalist in your own backyard on your walk to work or on your next great adventure. The world is a living museum of brilliant solutions and incredible stories, and you have a lifetime pass. The more you look, the more you will see. I want you to share what you find. What patterns have you noticed in your world? What questions do they make you ask? Let's turn this into a global conversation of curiosity. The next great discovery could be sparked by a simple observation you make. The zebra has shared its secret with us, a secret of optics, survival, and the unseen power of the very small. Now it's your turn.